Champagne shattered across the marble floor as Lila's glass slipped from her hand, the sharp crack echoing through the silent ballroom. Dozens of eyes turned toward her at once. A waiter rushed forward, but Marianne raised a hand, stopping him. "Don't bother," her stepmother said smoothly, her voice carrying just enough to reach the nearest tables. She wouldn't know what to do with help anyway. A few quiet laughs rippled through the crowd. Lila stood frozen, the stem of the broken glass still between her fingers, her expression unreadable. The cameras were already up, phones angled, recording, waiting. Marianne stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on Lila's shoulder, the gesture almost affectionate.
That's exactly what you wanted.
"Careful, darling," she added, softer now, but still audible. "You'll hurt yourself. You're not used to doing things on your own." Another wave of laughter. Louder this time, and then, Lila smiled, not embarrassed. Not flustered. Just. "Come, of course," she said lightly. "That's exactly what you wanted." The room stilled. Before we go any further, please take a second to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let me know in the comments what you think is really going on here, because this story only gets stranger from here. 3 years earlier, Lila had been nothing like this. She used to wake up early, long before the house stirred, tying her hair into a messy knot as she rushed through her morning routine. She cooked her own breakfast, burned toast more often than not, and laughed it off.
Oh well.
She kept lists, assignments, goals, plans. Her teachers described her as focused, maybe even a little stubborn, and then her mother died. The house changed first. Quiet, heavier somehow. Then her father changed, longer hours, fewer conversations, more distance. By the time Marianne arrived, everything already felt hollow. Marianne didn't come in loudly. She didn't need to. She was composed, elegant, precise in the way she spoke and moved. She noticed everything. She corrected little things, posture, tone, the way Lila held her fork. At first, it felt like guidance, then it became something else. "You work too hard," Marianne said one afternoon, gently closing Lila's laptop. "You should enjoy your life more." "I like working," Lila replied, reaching for it again. Marianne smiled. "That's because no one has shown you how much easier things can be." The next morning, breakfast was already made. The day after that, her laundry disappeared before she could touch it. A week later, her school schedule was adjusted, fewer classes, more free time. "It's for your well-being," Marianne explained. Her father nodded without really looking up. "Your stepmother knows what she's doing." At first, it felt like relief. No deadlines. No pressure. No expectations, but relief slowly turned into something duller. Days stretched longer. Decisions disappeared. Even small choices, what to wear, what to eat, were quietly taken out of her hands. "Try this instead," Marianne would say, already handing her something else. "You don't need to worry about that," she'd add, before Lila could protest, and somehow, without noticing exactly when it happened, Lila stopped trying. Months passed. Her friends stopped calling. She stopped reaching out. Why would she? There was nothing to say. Everything was handled so completely that she no longer knew where she ended and the system around her began. "You're lucky," people would say when they visited, and from the outside, it looked like luck. Designer clothes arrived weekly. Packages stacked at her door. Spa appointments, shopping trips, private drivers waiting at every hour. A life without inconvenience, a life without effort, a life without friction, but also a life without control. "You should rest," Marianne would say whenever Lila tried to take on something for herself. "You deserve it." The words sounded kind. They always sounded kind. Until the day Lila tried to cook. It wasn't anything complicated. Just something simple, something she used to do without thinking. She stood in the kitchen, staring at the ingredients like they belonged to someone else. How do I even start? she muttered. A maid stepped forward immediately. Miss, I can handle that. No, Lila said quickly. But Marianne was already there. Oh, sweetheart, she said, laughing softly.
Why would you struggle with this?
Why would you struggle with something like this? I'm not struggling, Lila insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. Marianne took the knife gently from her hand. You don't have to prove anything.
That's
the beauty of your life. Lila hesitated. And then she stepped back. That moment should have meant nothing, but it didn't, because that night, lying in bed, she realized something uncomfortable. She couldn't remember the last time she had finished anything on her own. The thought stayed with her, quiet, persistent, unsettling. A week later, she opened her phone out of pure boredom and recorded a short video. No plan, no intention, just a camera pointed at her face. I just tried to make pasta, she said, staring into the lens.
I don't even know how that happened.
And I failed. She laughed awkwardly. I don't even know how that happened. She posted it without thinking. The next morning, her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Comments, shares, notifications stacking faster than she could read them. Most of them weren't kind, but they weren't entirely cruel either. They were fascinated. She's serious. This can't be real. No way someone lives like this. Lila stared at the screen, something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. Attention, not the polite, controlled kind she was used to, something raw. Immediate, unfiltered, for the first time in a long time. Something in her life wasn't managed, and that made it interesting, that made it hers. She picked up her phone again. Okay, she said, pressing record. Apparently, I don't know how to boil water either. And this time, she meant it to be seen. Please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and tell me in the comments, do you think Lila is really clueless, or is something else starting to happen here? The second video performed even better than the first. By the third, Lila wasn't guessing anymore. She was paying attention. What do you mean you've never used a washing machine? One comment read, she hadn't, so she filmed it. She stood in the laundry room, staring at the buttons like they were written in another language. She pressed one. The machine beeped loudly. She flinched. Okay. That sounded aggressive, she muttered. The clip ended there. It exploded overnight. Views climbed into the hundreds of thousands. Then millions. Lila sat on her bed the next morning, scrolling through the numbers, her heart beating faster than she expected. It wasn't just attention anymore. It was momentum. You're trending, Marianne said casually over breakfast, not even looking up from her tablet. Lila paused. You saw that? It's hard not to, Marianne replied. People seem entertained. There was a faint edge in her tone. Not quite disapproving. Not quite approval either. Is it a problem? Lila asked. Marianne smiled. Not at all. If anything, it reinforces a certain image. Lila tilted her head slightly. What image? Marianne finally looked at her. That you're harmless. The word lingered. Harmless. Lila smiled back, slow and thoughtful. Right. That afternoon, she filmed again. This time, it was deliberate. I'm going to try making tea, she said. Holding a kettle like it might betray her, she overfilled it. Water spilled onto the counter. She stared at it, paused, then looked back at the camera. What is that supposed to happen? The video ended. It did even better. By the end of the week, her follower count had multiplied tenfold. Messages started appearing in her inbox. Brands, agencies, strangers offering advice. She ignored most of them, but she read everything. Patterns started to emerge. People weren't just laughing. They were watching for consistency. They wanted more of the same, but slightly different. Predictable. But surprising, Lila began to map it out in her head, not on paper. Not visibly, just quietly. What are you doing? Marian asked one evening, leaning against the doorway as Lila sat cross-legged on the floor, her phone in hand, reading comments. Lila replied. Marian raised a brow. You care what they think? Lila shrugged. They seem to care what I do. That's not the same thing. No, Lila agreed. It's not. She posted another video that night, day 5 of trying to function like a normal person, she announced. Today, I'm going to the grocery store. The clip cut to her standing in the middle of an aisle, staring at rows of identical products. Why are there so many types of milk? She whispered. The video ended before she chose anything. By morning, it had already crossed 1 million views. Something shifted after that. The comments changed. Less disbelief, more expectations. She has to be playing this up. No one is that clueless. Wait. Is she actually smart? Lila read those twice, then she smiled, not wide. Not obvious, just enough. The next video was shorter, sharper. I tried to fold a fitted sheet, she said. I lost. Cut. It went viral again, but this time, something else followed, an email. She almost ignored it, almost, but the subject line caught her attention, brand collaboration opportunity. She opened it slowly, her eyes scanning each line with increasing focus, a lifestyle brand. Mid-level. Not massive, but established. They wanted her to feature one of their products. They were offering money, real money. Lila sat back, the phone resting in her lap. For a moment, she didn't move, then she stood up and walked straight to Marian's office. Marian looked up as she entered, madly surprised. Something wrong? Lila held up her phone. I got an offer. Marian gestured for her to continue. They want to pay me to promote something, Lila said. For a video. Marian leaned back in her chair, studying her. And I don't know what to do. That part wasn't entirely true, Marian smiled faintly. Well, that depends. Do you think you can handle it? The question was soft, but precise. Lila met her gaze. I think I can try. Marian considered that for a moment, then nodded. Go ahead. It fits the narrative. The narrative. Lila echoed, yes, Marian said smoothly. A girl like you stumbling into something like this, it's believable. Lila's fingers tightened slightly around her phone. Right, she said again. That night, she filmed the sponsored video, carefully, not too polished. Not too clean, just enough mistakes to stay consistent. Just enough awkwardness to feel real. Apparently, this is supposed to make things easier, she said, holding up the product. Which is good, because I clearly need that. She paused, tilted her head slightly. I hope I'm using it right. Cut. The brand loved it. The audience loved it more. The comments flooded in again. She's getting paid for this. This is genius. No way she's not in on it now. Lila watched the numbers rise. Then she checked her bank account. The transfer had already gone through. She stared at the amount for a long moment. Then she laughed, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, because something had just become very clear. You're smiling. Marian observed the next morning. Lila glanced up. Am I? Yes. Marian folded her hands neatly. That usually means you figured something out. Lila tilted her head. Maybe I'm just enjoying myself. Enjoyment is rarely that simple. Lila held her gaze for a second longer than usual. Maybe it is, she said. Marian didn't respond immediately, but something in her expression shifted, just slightly. Later that day, Lila posted again. Day 10, she said, looking straight into the camera. I'm still useless. A bit. Then a small, almost imperceptible smile, but apparently, that's working. The video ended, it became her fastest growing post yet, and for the first time, the narrative wasn't just happening to her, she was shaping it. Please take a moment to subscribe, like the video, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because things are about to escalate, and the question now is, who's really in control? By the end of the month, Lila wasn't just trending, she was unavoidable. Clips of her appeared everywhere, reaction videos, compilations, commentary channels trying to figure her out. Some insisted she was completely clueless. Others argued she was playing a role. Lila watched all of it, every theory, every breakdown, not emotionally, analytically. They think you're either an idiot or a genius, her father said one evening, glancing up from his phone for once. Lila looked up from her screen. Which one do you think? He hesitated, then shrugged. Does it matter? Lila smiled faintly. Not anymore. Because by then, the numbers had stopped feeling abstract, brand deals increased. Payments grew larger. Her inbox shifted from hopeful requests to competitive offers. Agencies began asking for meetings, and for the first time since Marianne entered her life, Lila had something that didn't come through her. What are you working on? Marianne asked one afternoon, stepping into Lila's room without knocking. Lila didn't hide her screen this time. A content schedule, she said simply. Marianne's eyes flickered briefly across it. Dates, ideas, timing notes. You're planning now? She asked, a little. Marianne stepped further inside. I thought all of this was accidental. It was, Lila said calmly. At first. And now? Lila locked her phone and looked up. Now people expect something from me. Marianne studied her for a long moment. Expectation can be dangerous, she said finally, so can underestimating people. Lila replied. The silence that followed wasn't loud, but it wasn't empty either. That evening, Lila posted a different kind of video, still simple, still in her usual tone, but slightly sharper. I tried to pay a bill today, she said, holding up a piece of paper. Apparently, there are deadlines. She blinked at the camera. No one told me that. Cut. The comments came fast. She's joking now, right? No way she doesn't know this. Okay, she's definitely smarter than she lets on. Lila read them carefully, then she closed the app, because what mattered wasn't what they believed, it was that they kept watching. A week later, everything shifted again. Marianne called her into the living room. We need to talk, she said, her tone composed but firmer than usual. Lila sat across from her, legs crossed, waiting. Marianne placed a document on the table. I've reviewed your recent activities, she began. Your online presence is expanding faster than expected. Lila didn't interrupt. You're attracting attention that extends beyond harmless entertainment, Marianne continued. That comes with risk. What kind of risk? Lila asked. Loss of control, Marianne said. The words were precise, measured, intentional. Lila tilted her head slightly. Whose control? Marianne didn't smile this time. That depends on how this continues. Lila leaned back, her expression unreadable. I've been offered a management deal, she said casually. Marianne's eyes narrowed just slightly. Already? Yes. And you're considering it? I'm considering everything. Marianne folded her hands. You don't have the experience to navigate that world. Maybe not, Lila said. But I'm learning. Learning requires structure, Marianne replied. Guidance. Lila held her gaze. From you? Marianne didn't flinch. From someone who understands how quickly things can fall apart. There it was again, control, wrapped in concern. Lila nodded slowly. I'll think about it. But she already knew the answer. That night, she didn't film, she didn't post. For the first time in weeks, her account went quiet. speculation exploded instantly. Where is she? Did something happen? She's gone already. Lila watched the reactions build without adding to them. Tension, curiosity, absence, she realized, was just as powerful as presence. 2 days later, she returned. The video was different, still simple, but intentional in a way that felt unmistakable. I disappeared for a bit, she said, sitting calmly in front of the camera. A pause. I was thinking. She looked directly into the lens. Everyone keeps asking if I'm actually this useless. Another pause. Then, I guess it depends on what you think useful means. Cut. The video spread faster than anything she had posted before, because this time, it wasn't just content, it was a statement. Marianne saw it immediately. You're changing the tone, she said that evening, her voice quieter now. Lila didn't look up. Am I? Yes. And is that a problem? Marianne stepped closer. It could be. Lila finally met her eyes. For who? The question lingered longer than either of them expected. Marianne turned away first. Be careful, she said. People lose interest just as quickly as they gain it. Lila nodded once. I know. But she also knew something else. Interest wasn't random. It followed patterns. And she had learned them. Days later, another email arrived. This one was different, bigger brand. Higher offer, and something else, a proposal for her own product line. Lila read it twice, then a third time, because this wasn't just collaboration anymore, it was ownership. She walked into the living room where her father sat. I'm launching something, she said. He looked up, surprised. Already? Yes. He hesitated. Does your stepmother know? Lila smiled faintly. She will. Upstairs, Marianne stood by the window, her phone in hand, reading the same announcement that had just gone public. Her expression didn't crack, but her grip tightened slightly, because the plan had worked. Lila was exactly what she had intended, dependent, visible, dismissed. Only now, that visibility had turned into something else entirely, and for the first time, Marianne wasn't the one directing it. Please subscribe, like the video, and tell me in the comments, do you think Marianne is about to lose everything, or does she still have one move left? The night of the gala arrived with precision. Everything about it was controlled: lighting, guest list, media coverage. Marianne had planned it meticulously, just like everything else in her life. It was meant to reinforce her image, her influence, her position, and Lila's, or at least the version of Lila she had created. Lila stepped out of the car slowly, cameras flashing instantly as her heels touched the ground. Her dress was elegant but simple, almost understated compared to the usual excess people expected from her. That alone caught attention. She looks different. Is this still the same girl? Lila heard the whispers but didn't react. She moved forward calmly, her posture steady. Her expression neutral. Inside, the room shimmered with wealth and expectation. Marianne was already there, waiting. You're late, she said as Lila approached. Am I? Lila replied lightly. Or did I just arrive when people were paying attention? Marianne studied her carefully. You've been making interesting choices lately. So have you, Lila said. A brief pause. Then Marianne smiled, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. Let's not do this here, she said softly. Oh, Lila replied. I think this is exactly where it happens. Across the room, cameras adjusted. Something was about to unfold. Marianne turned slightly, addressing a nearby group, but her voice carried just enough. Lila has been busy online, she said. Though I'm not sure she fully understands the world she stepped into. A few polite laughs. Lila didn't interrupt. Not yet, she's always been. Marianne continued, placing a gentle emphasis on her words. Someone who needs guidance. There it was, the narrative, the same one, just louder now. She's had everything done for her, Marianne added. It's difficult to suddenly function independently when you've never had to. More laughter, more attention. Marian turned back to Lila, her expression soft again, almost concerned. Be careful, she said, just loud enough. You'll embarrass yourself. Silence followed, all eyes shifted to Lila, waiting, watching, recording, and then, Lila stepped forward, calm, composed, deliberate. You're right, she said. The room stilled. I don't know how to do a lot of things, Lila continued. I can't cook. I can't do laundry properly. I didn't even know how to pay a bill a few weeks ago. A ripple of quiet amusement moved through the crowd. Marian's lips curved slightly, but Lila didn't stop. What's interesting, she added, is how that happened. The tone changed, subtle, but undeniable. I didn't forget those things, Lila said. They were taken away from me. Slowly. Carefully. Replaced with comfort. With convenience. She glanced at Marian, with control. The room went completely silent. Marian's expression froze for just a fraction of a second. I was given everything, Lila continued. Except the ability to do anything for myself. A pause, but here's the part that's funny. She turned slightly, now addressing the entire room, that version of me. The one who doesn't know how to do anything. A faint smile appeared. People love her. No laughter this time, just attention, raw. Focused, so I gave them exactly that, Lila said. I played it. I exaggerated it. I turned it into something people couldn't look away from. Marian's composure began to tighten. You turned me into a story, Lila continued, her voice steady. And I turned that story into something valuable. A bit, something profitable. Mama spread, phones lifted higher, recording everything. I may not know how to do certain things, Lila said. But I know how people think. I know what they watch. I know what they share. She tilted her head slightly, and I know how to use it. The silence broke into scattered reactions, whispers, shifting glances, the weight of realization settling across the room. Marian stepped forward, her voice controlled but sharper now. You're being dramatic, she said. This is hardly the place. No, Lila interrupted gently. This is exactly the place. She reached into her clutch and pulled out her phone. I launched something this week, she said. A product line. Screens across the room lit up as people checked. It sold out in 6 hours. Lila added, that did it. The reaction was immediate, surprise. Interest. Respect, because numbers changed everything. You tried to make me useless, Lila said. Her gaze returning to Marian. But you gave me the perfect role. Marian said nothing, for the first time, nothing. People didn't watch me because I was capable, Lila continued. They watched me because I wasn't. A pause, and that made me impossible to ignore. She stepped back slightly, relaxed, finished. The room erupted, not loudly, not chaotically, but with a surge of energy that shifted entirely in her direction. Questions. Attention. Opportunity, all of it moving toward her, away from Marian. Later that night, the clip spread faster than anything before. Headlines. Reactions. Analysis. She knew the whole time. This was intentional. She turned weakness into power. Lila sat alone in her room, her phone buzzing endlessly beside her. She didn't rush to respond, didn't need to, because for the first time, she wasn't reacting. She was ahead. A soft knock came at her door. Marian, may I come in? She asked. Lila looked up, of course. Marian stepped inside, closing the door behind her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marian exhaled quietly. You've changed, she said. Lila shook her head slightly. No, she replied. I just stopped letting you decide who I was. Marian's gaze lingered on her. searching, calculating, but finding nothing to adjust, nothing to control. I wanted to protect you, she said finally. Lila held her gaze by making me incapable. A pause. Marianne didn't answer, because there wasn't a version of that explanation that worked anymore. I'm fine, Lila said, her voice calm but final. Actually, I'm more than fine. She picked up her phone, glancing at the numbers one more time, then she set it down, because she already knew what they said. I'll figure out the rest, she added. Marianne nodded slowly, and for the first time since she had entered that house, she left without saying another word. Lila leaned back, exhaling softly, not overwhelmed, not uncertain, just in control. The girl who couldn't do anything had built something out of it, and that was the one thing no one had planned for. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell me in the comments, was Lila always in control, or did she become it over time?